18 cats in a 5-cat bag. Look, I had to give my cat some rescue remedy this morning. She was acting like 5 cats.
Oh, and I want to tell you guys, like, especially you, Storm, because you've been here during the whole time, and I want to tell you, like, live revelation.
Here's the revelation.
The CP might be getting a little bit different from here on out. It's the same jackass that you've always come to love. I realized this, dude. Last August, I switched to a medication for my ADHD.
Yeah.
That may have complicated an entire year of my life unknowingly until the following August.
Oh, so
and, if you've noticed my mood change from the beginning of Rise in Mind, you can track back. Vikings archived it. The impact that taking Adderall has done on my brain. Unfortunately, it was really good for helping me focus with my ADHD. It came at a time in between other medications where I confused, I think, my own confidence and ego and self-worth and self-loathing, spiraled down, and didn't realize why I was progressively getting more and more pissed and more and more resentful of everybody in my life, distrustful of everybody in my life. Not you, Matt. You don't have to worry about that. You were still cool. You were still pretty cool, but I was starting to be like, this motherfucker.
Now I'm not.
This motherfucker.
Now I'm not going to be cool because.
We're gonna flip you. You're just gonna get annoying. Everybody annoyed me, but you I kind of got because I was like, he's fucked up. I was just like, he's fucked up.
He's fucked up.
All right.
He's just fucked up.
If you come at me and you go, hey man, I'm fucked up. I'm like, hey, I'm fucked up. Hey. We can do this, and then I have no problems with you. But don't come and be like, I got all the answers. I'm like, no, I'm gonna find that you're fucked up too.
I got some of the answers. I have some answers.
I'm gonna find that you're fucked up too. You wait, we're gonna find what's really fucked up.
Are we ready for the intro, CP?
Yeah, just a side bit. So I've minimized that medication. I will be changing that, and I'm doing different things. So I'm gonna be a little bit calmer, and I might not go on. I'm going to be a little bit more friendly. I'm not going to be like, fuck my grandfather. He doesn't deserve shit.
That was some of your best insight.
I know, but it was fueled by a lot. It was fueled by a lot of anger because the medication on top of it. But it was good because it allowed me to feel those emotions where I might have repressed them. So, hey, big ups to Adderall for, saying fuck you to grandpa and getting that out. But, what I'm saying... I don't trust you. I don't trust you, wife.
I don't trust you.
You're trying to bury us in this arcade.
My guy. It's your arcade. Alrighty. So, I'm gonna read this as it says. I got a script. The anger was unique, but the I got burritos was hands down the best. The chaos.
You can always expect nonsense. The nonsense always lives in me. Just a little more. See, I'm into it now. I'm like, not mad about it. So,
alrighty. So.
All right, what are we talking about today, my friend?
So today, welcome everybody. I've also had some revelations about what I want from streaming, what I've wanted from the world, from my life, from my job. Like I had to sit down with my boss. I had a good 45-minute conversation with my boss. Like if we're gonna do this, I'm gonna need these things to be this way, or I'm gonna have to find something else. And he got really serious, and he was like, okay, we like you here. Like, let's figure this out. And now I'm going to finally have my Friday nights to myself instead of having to work Friday night. And it's going to make my whole weekend so much smoother for conventions and things like that. And I've been sleeping better thanks to that as well. So my brain is much more alive. Thank you, Storm. And part of that sort of coming back to myself made me realize that on this show, I want to talk about stuff that both CP and I care about as well, not just some big amorphous, like unknowable thing. I love those subjects, but we've done those like one after the other for like so many episodes that I want to bring it back down to stuff that is in our day-to-day lives more so.
Yeah, we're gonna take it back to the mind. We're gonna get grounded. Oh, dude,
Oh,
grounding. This is
oh!
year two of Rising Mind, where we get
Year two.
grounded. Are we on season 2 yet?
And we're not.
We've almost done this a year, right? Half a year.
With that, welcome everybody to another episode of Rise in Mind, where we embark on an intellectual journey beyond the ordinary. In today's exploration, we're delving into a captivating world of the golden ratio. Brace yourselves for a mind-bending ride as we uncover the threads that connect.
Is that how much piss you get on your shoes at the urinal?
That's part of it.
Oh, okay.
It all connects, man.
Oh.
People don't realize. No, just kidding. I can't even do that. I can't do that with a straight face. So
you'll learn.
Yeah.
You just
so
think of something that makes you dead inside while you say it.
Seriously, this is connecting mathematics, art, the very essence of beauty, from the swirls of galaxies to intricate designs of architecture.
Yeah, I know.
It's everything.
Right here, buddy. The very essence of beauty.
It's,
I mean,
CP sketch.
It's always connected in the Rising Mind.
He's the most gorgeous man that I've ever seen.
I know. Look at that.
Look at that guy.
How cute that is, huh? That my cup matches my shits, my minty. Yeah.
On this episode of Cosmic Horror, on the next episode, I like cheese. We're bringing it back. So those of you who were here for the stream starting screen, that was a video of the Mandelbrot set. CP, how familiar are you with the Mandelbrot set?
Not at all.
Okay,
that sounds like a fucking sausage, dude.
Sounds like
the Mandelbrot, dude.
Yeah.
Give me some. I'll have you want a wiener, man? Get the Mandelbrot. Yeah, get the Mandelbrot.
Bring me the Mandelbrot. Aged, 5-year aged Mandelbrot would be preferred.
We're Mandel. You mean Howie Mandel brats?
Breaking ground.
So who's Mandel?
You're talking about the Mandela effect. Nelson Mandela lived out his life and died of old age, or did he die in prison? Which one do you remember?
You just confused me because you said Mandel, and I was like, it's Mandela.
Mandela.
But I get the joke, and then I'm like, no.
Or is it Mandala?
Mandala. Yeah, Mandala. You know what a Mandala is?
Yeah, it's a Mandelbrot set. It is. No, really. No, I'm not even joking. It is.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh. Okay, so now we're getting somewhere.
Yeah, we are.
Mandala's that art that bridges out into patterns.
Exactly.
Okay.
All right, we are now in breaking ground.
So I guess I do know a little bit.
But we got to go to the...
If Mandela or Nelson Mandela.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you grounded again.
We are. We're doing it. Hold on. Wait. Hold up. Wait a minute.
Hold up. Hey.
I lost my video.
Pause. Oh, you have an intro.
I do. The Mandelbrot Fractal Zoom, one of the most popular fractal videos on YouTube. We are bringing it up here. This is a Mandelbrot set. This is fractals. This is nature in motion here. It's actually 2 hours and 30 minutes. So I was wrong on the amounts when I told you guys. When I told you CP, it's not thousands. This is 539 million iterations. The depth is 5e 1299. I don't know what the 5e 1299 means. Iterations were
the equator of it, equilateral.
Iterations refers to the amount of.
You know what iteration is? It's a fancy word for version. It's a fancy word for version. That throws people all the time. Iterations is a version, different versions of the same thing.
Yes.
That's the best way to explain iteration.
This podcast.
Wait. Why do I have the Inky cam? Like, I'm jamming in my head.
I
Thanks.
fixed it.
Oh,
Hold
now
on.
I'm dead.
You're not dead. I gotta put you back on. Hold on.
I'm in the fucking Mandelbrot, dude.
I don't know where your CP cam is here. Oh, it's
I don't know.
I forgot. I have to fix all of these because I changed the Ryzen Mind tag.
Did you do this like right before you started?
Don't no. So this what we're showing on screen here for those who are listening is a fractal iteration animation. It's a mathematical construct in nature that shows that patterns repeat, and every iteration of a shape will eventually emerge the more you repeat a pattern. Every time you repeat, well, I might be explaining this completely wrong, but patterns in nature are from fractals that naturally emerge through the replication of our cells and the replication of the molecules within our cells. And when to get to a human, you're talking billions and billions of iterations.
Oh, wow, look at the arcades.
Yeah, the level that we're at now is only in the millions, which is a speck in the cosm of like billions. So the golden ratio is something that is, this might seem like amorphous, but this is something we live with every day. You see it everywhere.
Yeah.
The most common iteration that you'll see of a fractal in nature is a shell, a seashell.
Yeah, I just saw a bunch of shells as you said that.
Yeah.
And then I've also been seeing a lot of architecture, which is also a lot of repeats and patterns and stuff, which would be a lot of this would be the inspiration of that, correct?
Yeah. So this video is just a great example of what we're talking about today, the golden ratio. The golden ratio is what most fractals are based off of. And you see this is it zooming in or is it zooming out?
In for me.
See, if you start to imagine it zooming out and watch it change, because it doesn't matter.
Well, yeah, in this context it is because like it became zooming out because the amount of lines.
Yes.
When there's less lines, I imagine that I'm closer to things. So now it's back down to its original like minimal lines. So I feel close now. But when there becomes more lines, I assume that I'm zooming in because I'm seeing more detail. As my art brain would allow.
As we said, it's 500 something million, right? So let me skip ahead to 40 minutes and watch how insane this gets. This is we're in like, oh, thank you, Burning Monkey.
This is like 2 a.m. when the shrooms have really kicked in, dude.
So here's where you're starting to see even more of the the golden ratio.
Yeah.
Hold on, I'm gonna like line this up properly so that the creator of the video gets proper credit. There we go.
What an AI.
Dude, it's not an AI. Well, the simulation is written in code, and then they press play on the visual aspect.
So the programmer is the artist.
Correct.
Did you know that? I just realized that the other day. I didn't really include. I'm sorry for everybody out there. The idea of programming as a field of art. I saw it as engineering, but now I see it as both. But I take it a lot more seriously. I think programming is going to be the future artist, right? Like
it's going to be part of it for sure.
Well, sculptor, painter, programmer. It is truly all because it's building in all those spaces. It's actually the most advanced. Here, CP said it. Programming is the most advanced art form out there.
Yeah. Well,
it encompasses everything in all time and space.
A programmer is essentially a sculptor, a painter, everything. Yeah, that's very true.
I never really thought of it like that, but and I knew that when video games are entered into the MoMA Art Museum, a lot of it is the program that is included in the art.
Here's a link to this video in the chat. We're also going to put it in the Ryzen Mind links on the Discord. Feel free to watch it at your leisure. I'm actually getting a little ill watching it now, so we're gonna put it away. We're gonna put that away for now. So
it got to him. I was
it
getting
did.
into it.
Well, look,
I got lost.
yeah, we could spend an entire episode on fractals alone, but fractals are just the tip of the iceberg for what we're talking about today.
Just the tip. Okay.
Just the tip. So the golden ratio is the main thing that I want to talk about, because I was reminded of this yesterday when I did a piece of artwork. It's up on my Instagram, at Space Viking 42. I drew a succulent in a pot, and it was like the weirdest thing for me, because I usually will draw some crazy creature, or I'll draw a tank blasting through a wall, or I'll draw like a soldier in battle armor, or I'll draw like a space scene. But this was like, what if I put the same amount of time and effort into just a succulent in a pot that I would normally put into one of these other pieces? And the result was incredible. Like for me, sorry for the effect it had on me to do this. The result is up to interpretation for everyone to see. But it was amazing to experience the, like, wow, I'm using everything I know about the natural world and about this particular type of plant, and like the texture and the lighting and how the subsurface scattering is going to go across the surface, and there's little hairs on it that are going to catch light, so you'll see some light coming from underneath on the hairs of the succulent as well. And then like the shape of it, like they're filled with water and moisture, so like they're kind of bulbous, like bubbles almost. So it's really fun to like draw something natural. But then I realized the pattern. Like, I know these patterns. These are the same patterns that exist for planets and galaxies. It's just on a smaller scale.
Microcosm, macrocosm.
Yeah.
Small, big, small, big. I love that. Yeah. And when I paint, I'm and you bring this up at a great time. I'm touching up this giant wall mural. I mean, I think it's like 12 feet high by 80 feet wide, or 100. I don't know. It's more. No, it's like two. I don't know what it would be. It's like 200 by 12 feet. It's insane. But when I paint on it, you're up against the wall, and then there's a world that you're painting.
Yeah.
But it's a giant wall that has to translate from far away. So like you run back, and then it looks completely different. And I always like to work in this kind of micro macro space of, well, what's rewarding from real far away? High contrast, right? Popping things, glows. You can create illumination in different ways that way. But then what if someone, namely a painter, would do this, wants to walk right up to it and put their nose right up to it because they want to see the marks, they want to see the details. I want that painter, when they walk up, to be like, oh wow, this is really where some shit's going on. And then when they walk away, oh wow, and then they just walk back and forth. And
you're doing art for the artist or art for the audience?
Both. I do art for everyone.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. I do it for people who understand art, for people that don't understand art. I love to put it outside to keep it public for everybody. I think outside art is the future. I think it's making these boring ass fucking cities that look like the Empire, something fun again, bringing color, bringing humanity.
The Empire from Star Wars?
Yeah, like just ugly, like some downtowns are nice, but everything becomes all homogenized. It becomes all gray, or becomes all beige, even interior style, same thing, like over the post, I'll say 9/11, I guess, post turn of the century. But like the aesthetic just got really, what I'd say, the Empire. I mean, gray
box people.
Very gray, like 5-10 years ago. And now we're seeing, much in like our layout, see there, gradients, oranges, pops, complementary colors popping off each other. And that's that mid-century vibe that people are like, no, I want this. I'm out here living my life, especially middle-aged folks like me. We're out here. I don't want to live in a gray box anymore. I want to remember the times when it was bright and neon and colorful. And hey, man, let's have some fucking fun again. you know, you know. Let's make the world colorful again. Not that it probably wasn't, but let's bring the color to everybody's attention. And yeah, working.
I would like some more color coming back, and not even muted colors. Like I started playing with fluorescent paint, and I'm loving it so much. Like fluorescents are so cool for doing like nebula and stars and planets. Even mixing them, like say you don't want it as fluorescent as it is, I was able to mix, say, a more muted color with the fluorescent color, and you get a more fluorescent version of that muted color instead. And it was brilliant.
Oh, awesome, dude. No, I'm happy to hear that. I think fluorescents are really going to be, I mean, they're popular, I think, now, but I think they are going to stick around for a while because think about it. We were all growing up, you know, in the 90s and stuff, and there was like black light stuff everywhere because the 70s, you know, 70s and the 90s, that kind of fashion 20-year skip. And
Yeah.
it was there. It was beautiful, and it led into the early 2000s, and then it was gone. But now, like, it's really our buddy Jesse. He started using it a lot, and then I started seeing it around a lot. He felt like really on the fucking ball with that, and yeah, now the neon aesthetic is everywhere. So that's good to hear, man. Keep doing that. And with space, dude,
Oh, I'm gonna.
like neon space, that's very 70s, dude.
Gonna be
Look
fun.
that up.
Yeah.
Look up like 70s black
just
light
got-
posters, dude, and
I-
like space posters. You'll get some cool ideas. Borrow from the canon. That's the other thing I always do. Make sure
just
you're
got
always.
a book.
Oh, you did?
I got a book, so I'm gonna show it on the camera here real quick. We're gonna go to like the face cam.
Oh, fuck, man.
All right.
Special pickup from
I
the.
actually one of the last couple of Rise of Mind episodes we were talking about art, and I was reminded of this book cover that I bought. I bought the book just because of the cover. I don't even know if the story is going to be good, but I looked up the artist and I bought a compendium called Infinite Worlds by Vincent de Fate, and the foreword was by Ray Bradbury, and I'm like, hot damn. And this guy's work is exactly what you're talking about. Although he's more classic, so it's not as bright colors, but he's got that like the otherworldly. Like he did one of the Star Wars covers. Like he did this one. Oh, hold on, let me get the focus. My camera proper.
Oh yeah, I've seen that. I actually had that in a DVD, I think.
Here's the type of work I hope to do soon. This one right here, see like the floating city and like the saucers and the bright colors and it's like it's so cool. Exactly what you're talking about.
I know how you can I know how you can make that. I know how you.
Fluorescent paint? No.
No, I know what you can do, dude. I have a great idea. We'll get into it more some other time, but just get cups and saucers, dude, and stack them all up, and then put them out in the actual light, and then photograph them and get your reflections as a real model in real space, and you could do like paintings from that. That's what it looked like. It looked like stacked dishes.
Yeah, almost. Yeah.
It looks like you could just stack dishes, dude, and do like.
I'm wondering if that's what he did.
No, I think he did, dude. Like,
yeah.
My mentor, he said the best way to make art, and this isn't to do anything with digital, because digital, I'm realizing, like as I'm saying this, like you guys have programming that figures stuff out, but when you're the program and you're trying to figure it out, and where does the light source come in? He goes, the thing you do is you build your own model and you light it yourself. You build your own diorama. You set up your own stack of cups, and then the light. You see how everything reacts, because we all know you can't beat a puppet in a Jim Henson world with true lighting to look like it's with the actor versus the best CG. You give me your best CG, and I'll be like, nope, that light's just a little bit off. But that old hoggle fucking puppet that's completely decayed to this day is so accurately in the space because it's in the space with it. So keep that in mind. If you're gonna do that, man, stack up a bunch of dishes out in the front yard.
I will.
Neighbors will be like, "What the fuck is this guy doing?" I'm a gobble dude. I'm out my mind. That.
So have you used?
We have an ad, I guess.
Oh, there's an ad now.
Yeah.
I guess.
My sub ran out.
Oh man.
But now I know when the ads are. At least, hey, you know. But
DP, say something in the chat. Type in the chat. You're my co-host. I'm not gonna let you go without a sub. Boop. We'll get you in there for another month here. There you go. Nice. Yeah, it's like being a co-host. It's like, wait a minute. Yo, you don't have to make it.
That's a CP rating up in here.
We're going to take just a moment to touch on some things that Renegade Bundy said, which actually will bring us into the deep dive. Hexapod Beast, me and an artist who didn't think they had the skill to do it, made a rough idea of a beast that was a mix of a dragon, giant anteater, a bear, and an ankylosaur.
I love it.
So I love doing beasts mixed together because when you take shapes from nature and you combine them all together, it still looks plausible. Still looks like it could exist because everything repeats. Like the bone structure of a lizard isn't that far off from the bone structure of a deer.
You heard it here.
I mean, they are drastically different, but what I mean is they all came from a similar origin point, and you could end up with a creature where they look like they're mixed together if you went back to that origin point and made some different changes in their evolutionary history.
Well, you must pet Inky, and every once in a while be like, "Aw, you're just like me, but like in a different form. Like, oh, a little spine. Oh, there's your little pelvis. But yours is here. Oh, your head. You got your eye socket. You're like me. I'm a thing too. I have a skull." You don't ever do that?
I do. I actually do that all the time.
Oh, you got a butthole too.
Everything's got a butthole, dude.
Got a butthole.
Almost everything has a butthole. Speaking of,
where tails go?
Buttholes follow the golden ratio.
Yeah, everything does.
Everything does.
I can't wait till we get it. I got a golden ratio thing to say concerning art once we get into it a little more.
Let's get into the deep dive here. We can do that right now. We can get into it a little bit more.
Well, explain. I don't know if we've clearly explained.
We haven't. We haven't really broken ground, right?
Is. We kind of. We should define this stuff.
This is where it gets a little eh. There's people who think the golden ratio isn't real, that it's a myth. They think that nature is completely random, and there aren't patterns, and yet the spiral pattern in our ear lobe almost exactly matches a shell. You know, like there's things in it, right? So putting it as simply as we can, the golden ratio, also known as the golden section, the golden mean, the divine proportion, the Greek letter phi, exists when a line is divided into two parts, and the longer line, A, divided by the smaller part, B, is equal to the sum of A and B divided by A, which both equal 1.618. And then that, if we go to the images, Hold on, it's loading. Looks like this.
Don't
Then-
worry.
but then
I've
if
already
you-
checked out like a while ago.
Hold
I'm
on.
like, huh? Math?
This is gonna get it's gonna start to make sense. So here it is visually for you and I, people like you and I. We need it visually. See.
That's a little better. Those
So
numbers
and
will get
then
projected
and then it's
fast.
getting even better. So if you take that and you square it, you get this.
God, that's a mess.
See? And then hold on. If you cube it, you get I just saw it, it was here. This image. If you bring it into 3D space, it's the shell.
Yeah.
So that's where the math starts to make more sense. That's the golden ratio is defined, and here it is even simpler. When it's divided by, like, you can fractalize it. There was a fractalized version already here. Oh, here it is. That's a fractalized version where you can see the repeating patterns. Like you put spheres in the squares, and that also makes it, not spheres, sorry, circles. That also makes it a bit more obvious.
Can you Google golden ratio architecture?
Yeah, that's actually where I was going. Wow, you read my mind.
Yeah, they're pretty similar.
It has been used for decades. Well, thousands of years even. I don't know why I said decades. But we've got, like, this one is obvious.
That old shit. Oh, look at the staircase a little on the nose.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
That's pretty though. Like,
those are
I
on the
love,
nose,
like,
but then we have
when they get high like that though, because you can move from you can change that orient. Oh my god.
exactly. So for those of you who are going to be just listening, what we're going through now is examples of the golden ratio being used in architecture, and we're seeing obvious takes of how this building can stand up and not fall over.
Yeah.
Because of the way the weight is distributed.
Yep.
I can't speak. I can think, but I can't speak.
And it could technically probably come out even further.
Here's the one.
Because you see, it would hold itself. Because you see the area that's not drawn.
Yeah.
Like if it could fill in, it would be like a liability, and people probably there'd be a point where it would be completely dangerous to build, but then it actually leverages itself back into the building for structure. It would just end up being top heavy, and the grounding was probably like an issue, which golden means aren't naturally grounded. So, that's weird.
So the video that we watched, there's the math that goes into that video. Is this right here? See the fractal going into infinite? If you were to animate that and continue the patterns, eventually you'd see patterns in nature starting to form. This is like 10 iterations versus the 500 million we were watching.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
we want to see some more architecture though.
Okay.
Well, here's another example. That's a good one.
And let's also say when was this science being spoke about? Like what is like when did this concept come out?
Well, and that was actually in the definition. Let me bring it back to that. The Greek letter phi denotes the golden ratio. So this implies that it was as far back as Greek. History, let's see. Some of the greatest mathematical minds of all ages: Pythagoras, Euclid, ancient Greece. A medieval Italian mathematician, Leonardo of Pisa.
Yeah,
Renaissance astronomer,
they understood the designs. Yeah, they understood the designs.
Yeah, it's all scale. Like Kepler was known for astronomical stuff. So he must have seen it in his math as well. Like, wait a minute.
The like I think of a lot of patterns. Like one famous pattern that you see a lot is called the Greek meander, and anyone you could Google that or anyone can, but it's you're definitely going to see it on a pizza box every once in a while. But the Greek meander, that was like a famous like motif design, and there's so many that I'm thinking they came up with. And then I was thinking of something too, like I you catch things on Instagram. And have you guys ever seen like videos of like tradesmen, crafters doing like old school techniques, like with plaster or whatnot? I saw this guy taking his hand and dipping it in plaster and just rubbing it on the ceiling around the light. And he created all these different patterns and circles. And then he had this tool that was like this block with these strings, and then he swung it, but he put it in the mathematical positions of the grid, and it was like amazing because it comes out like a magic trick because you just see this dude slopping on mess, and then he goes and he's moving everything, and then it creates this perfectly symmetrical, balanced pattern. And it's that kind of stuff that they had to figure out early on and create these beautiful ornate structures that this stuff we don't, in the gray world we live today, we don't see so much. But like like the ancient Greece had very ornate buildings and beautiful. Abso, may I have a little more coffee?
Coffee. It is almost coffee time.
There you are.
Additional coffee time. The weather's getting cold enough that I might have to shut my air conditioner off.
Yeah, it's starting to cool off. I'm enjoying it now. This is my time of year. Cool fall. August, like when August heat drops, this is me.
Oh yeah.
You want to go for a hike sometime, dude? This is hiking season, dude. This is when it's not hot for. We gotta go up. We gotta go up to the Dreamers Arcade, man.
We do.
Yeah, maybe.
So let's get into the deep dive now that we've clearly defined it.
Yeah, and I guess I was deep diving a little bit.
Let us go into
with the architecture you went and talked about, and then the making and how they made things and patterns and stuff. But even and I was wondering too, like why I ask is like why the conversations were. I was more interested in like when conversations about not the Greek meander, goddamn, the golden ratio were really starting to chime up because in like the mid-century American art movement, you had people like Jackson Pollock.
Yeah.
And there's one thing that drives me nuts is people use Jackson Pollock's name as the idea of taking a paintbrush and sticking it in a can of paint and flicking that shit on a canvas. Thank you. And that's not Pollock. I've seen people call things like the Pollock room, where this is the room where you can go in and just start splattering paint. You can be a jackass. It makes it feel
hashtag. I want to acknowledge Abso for being a real MVP here, bringing you coffee.
Oh yeah. Thanks. As soon as she started walking around, I was like, hey, what up?
Oh, hey, you up?
Gotcha.
That's the real life equivalent of "Hey, you up?"
That's like Maine. And Maine would just be like, "Yup, yup, yup,
yep,
yup, yep,
yep,
hey, yup, yep,
yep,
hey, yup, hey, yup, hey, you up,
hey, yep,
hey, yeah. But Pollock,
I
don't like that they just go splatter. I'm a splatter. I'm free. It's just more, and it's more people thinking that art is just a fucking jackass jerk off thing, and I don't like that. It's like, and people have said that to me. Educated teachers, like, oh yeah, you and your art, just painting all day, like it's like something. It's not work. It's the most stressful fucking thing I have to deal with all the time. I'm like going over here. I'm like 1 to 2 to 3, push pull. Push this, yellow, recess. And I'm like, my head's like a human processor the whole time while I'm trying to get into some kind of shaman dance, Like, it's a lot more than people think it is. Anyway, that being said, Jackson Pollock didn't just go and just splat the paint. No, he was a severely fucked up human being who was an alcoholic, and
Yeah.
he had his issues. He lived in Long Island. Shout out Long Island. It's where Abso's originally from.
A lot of our teachers ended up being like that. I feel like I had wonderful art teachers. I only had one that was interestingly, the color theory teacher was the one that was she was a very sad person. The most I could say is she cared about things.
I like sad girls. You're not making me think this is a bad person.
No. What I mean by sad is that she cared so passionately about things that will never matter.
Well, did she have ADHD?
No, she had bipolar, more like it was
Okay.
It was rough. She was just like trying to say that like there was a right and wrong to certain color combinations.
Wrong is wrong.
Wrong is wrong, but like there's color combinations that are, yes, ugly. She thought ugly meant wrong, and I'm like, no, never.
No.
Never.
That's,
ugly is never
art,
wrong.
Yeah, art isn't just for beauty.
Yes.
Bitch.
Exactly. That's
art
what I wanted to say.
For beauty, bitch. Say it. That's right, teacher. It's not for beauty. It can be gross. Fuck you.
You need to find the beauty in the gross, or you can't really survive this world.
The gross doesn't exist without the beauty, and the beauty doesn't exist without the growth, right?
Yeah, you can't. How do you compare?
Trent and Betty can't fucking hang out if one doesn't come to the party.
Which one's Betty? We talked about
biological growth, basically growth in nature, like the things that stem, like where Trent's the death and the chaotic side of it, or the death of it, or the erosion. I see it more as erosion, and then Betty would be the nature, the growth, the things that flourish, the leaves that are currently growing on the tree versus the leaves that are falling off at death.
Nature,
because they need to collide to create anything. Because without one, chaos and order, there's nothing. They're the two poles. They're basically polars, however you want to say them.
Yeah. Nature craves the void. We were birthed in disorder, and nature.
Would we be in the void?
Well, the thing is in the beginning there was light. No. In the beginning it was
nothing.
In the Big Bang it was pure disorder. And
in the beginning, ever
since order started coming in, entropy also started, because everything wants to return to disorder, a balanced state where everything's at the same level, and that's disorder. And I love that this came to this subject, because one of the disputed observations of the golden ratio is that there's so much disorder in nature. But the further down you go, you see order, like the cells of a plant. Like a tree itself might seem a little disorderly and asymmetrical, but then when you zoom in, it's following a pattern in order to do what it's doing.
And it's also figured out a way to exist within chaos, in a better way. Because think about it, we have been building structures since the dawn of time. Once we started becoming domesticated, but how many of those structures are still in existence, right? But trees have been out for quite a long time, right?
If a tree is undisturbed for long enough, it'll get bigger and bigger and stronger, and if it doesn't succumb to some kind of disease, it will grow to immense heights. The redwoods.
Oh yeah.
The redwoods are a good example of, like, if given the right environment, a tree can just continue to get larger and larger, depending on its genetics. Like, certain trees can only get to a certain size, but they get stronger over time if they're you know, correctly fed. They do have a finite lifespan, though. Like certain trees will only live for a certain time. Redwoods are one of the longest living ones, and will have microcosms of other trees living inside them that make them look like they're still alive for a long time.
Yeah, and the thing that's interesting
That's true,
is
Renegade.
with the trees is the way that they have a resilience, and that is what helps them, I think, live with something like entropy, because when things are always changing around them, and when nature is persisting, and there's a lot of swirling golden ratios of different sorts all around them, they're adaptive in a way that they can self-repair, break off a piece and still live and deal with what's happening. And even if they uproot, in a lot of ways, they'll still grow. They'll still have rooted systems. And if your house, where you live right now, now let's take that same tree. If the tree came down and smashed out your front windows right now, or my side of the arcade, what would happen? Would it rebuild itself? Would those windows regrow back into windows? Would the wood frame repair itself and grow back into a box?
No, that's
It's inefficient.
oh my god, this brings up the idea of the Roman concrete. The reason the Roman concrete is so good is because it can self-repair. They figured out a way to make a self-repairing concrete. And imagine if we could have a house that grew, and every
Imagine if
time
this
it was
mouse,
damaged.
yeah, could repair itself. It was biological,
That
and biotech, bro.
so the mouse could be an actual mouse.
Oh, yeah. Now you're being funny.
But no,
Now you're being funny.
but imagine if they made it look like a mouse too. Like that'd be
Dude,
like
that would either really fuck over mice, real natural mice, or be really fortuitous. They'd figure, a few of them would figure it out. They'd be like, hey dude, I could fucking sit on this computer desk all day with this like other bio, and I can eat his shit. I eat his Cheez-Its. It plays a game, and I just sit there every once in a while. It like rubs my back, and what the fuck's doing? And then I just eat the Cheez-Its, and it's like it thinks I'm a thing.
Cheez-It eats the Cheez-Its, yeah. Yeah, exactly.
But no, in saying that and bringing up the mouse,
yeah,
they've used things in computers like very thin spider webbing. They're figuring out biological ways to make energy transference, and they're using things in nature. And I don't know if you guys know, but Musk and the FDA have gone 100% forward with this idea of chipping, not chipping for like, oh, they're gonna find us. They got you got a cell phone, they found you. Don't worry about that shit, boomer. The chip would be access to the internet, or fixing, say your arm or something didn't work anymore. Because we're resilient. I get cut and I repair to a certain degree, but if you just like a truck came by and took my arm off, it's gone, and it doesn't grow. I don't regenerate a whole arm. So I could have a synthetic added, have a chip in my head to where my brain then moves my arm in a naturalistic way, so then I could get my arm back or regrow one, or different options. But we are figuring out ways to fuse the technology with our biology, because that's the future of fighting entropy. When your house rots and when your body breaks, or you get Alzheimer's and you forget who you are, you can just re-upload another part and be like, oh, hey, I'm back. So that's, to me, that's our future.
They take your soul out of your body, and then they fix your brain, or giving you a new
Yeah.
brain, and then they put your
Give
soul
you-
back
give it-
in, and
Give me a
then
new hot body.
and then you know, what if you know? What if your brain knows that it's not the original brain, and it starts to attack itself?
Well, you know, that time will tell.
Oh, that's true. I mean,
That's
in
I mean,
the
we'll probably get, if you put a chip in your brain, it'll probably give you like cancer early on, right? Because it's a foreign thing.
yeah.
But then again, people have pacemakers, right? People have limbs, so and it's also a chance thing and a genetic thing.
Oh,
You know,
can I poke a hole?
sure.
Um, in the same vein to the golden ratio here, like I think our body knows when something it doesn't follow the pattern, because there's been cases of pacemakers being rejected. Like your body naturally just goes, that's not me. The funny, I just want to know how a ball of molecules can discern whether or not something is one of its own. Like it's so crazy to me that our cells can go, that's not normal. I'm gonna attack it.
I think it's the flow, and this is gonna get me back into politics.
Yeah.
So the flow.
More Pollock.
Yeah. So the flow, right? We were watching the video earlier, and I think that is what screws it up. It's the traffic. I think we build structures like this is a ceramic cup. It has density, right? I feel its density. Our body has density. We think of things in terms of density. Now, this isn't really a solid object. Me and my object are solid and they're hitting, but it's all still just millions, billions, whatever, endless, infinite little molecules. And so when I touch it, there's interactions between the molecules, you know, and there's a fusion of them, and that creates that reaction. But in our bodies, I see it just like that video you showed me. If it's always in movement, and if it's always swirling around, if you take a thing out and put a new thing in that doesn't dance like the rest of them, you know, all of a sudden everybody's been just kind of grooving, and then you put in this pacemaker and he comes and he's like, and then everyone's like bumping into him like, the fuck is this guy doing in here, man? I'm trying to go this way.
I'm trying
Use your turn signal, bro.
I'm just trying to jam out in here. What are you doing?
Like dude, you
that's what it is.
Like swing.
This is where we're actually, this is fantastic.
Doesn't have any fucking rhythm.
I love that. I love that concept of like our body is naturally following the. Maybe there's a golden ratio in the way our biology works. Maybe that pattern is continued, and then the stuff that humans make, we sometimes use the golden ratio, but not always. And when we don't use something natural patterns that make sense, I'm wondering. This brings up a question: if we built prosthetics to follow patterns in nature the same way that nature wants to be followed, would prosthetics be more accepted by our body? Like, say you 3D printed a prosthetic arm and tried to integrate it directly into the biology, could the biology go, oh, that's just another arm, I'm gonna naturally attach to this? Like, what if we didn't need any bolts or any fasteners to attach a prosthetic, because our arm would just go, oh, that's an arm, I'm gonna grow some, I'm gonna grow bone to attach to this prosthetic bone, I'm gonna grow some flesh to attach to this prosthetic flesh, and it just naturally integrates. What if like you saw a prosthetic that was like you could see a gradation like in between like my bicep and here? What if you could see like where it grew into the new arm? Because we learned what biology wants and how it learns to discern what's friend and foe. If we could learn that, that'd be fantastic.
I see myself at 86 years old waiting for Halley's Comet, right? Standing out in a field. 86 years old waiting for the Halley's Comet. I made it. Old CP. And then there's these people hanging out. They're walking by. And then there's three people that I see in the crowd who have had arm surgery. And keep it in mind, I'm 86 now. It's been a few decades.
Yeah.
You see a guy with a prosthetic full robo arm, Terminator, with a big hard like collar type thing.
Yeah.
You know he has a little chip in the back of his head, and he's doing it all with his brain, and then this thing has a little bit of a lag, maybe. Sometimes
Maybe-
it fucking
Maybe he was a quadriplegic, and that's what saved him too.
yeah, that's his thing, right?
Yeah.
It's on the nose. It doesn't look real. And then you see this other guy. He had the same thing done,
Yeah.
but it was like 5-10 years down the road. And then his shit has this like thing that's on where he had lost his arm, and it's a bio cap, and his arm has grown into it and created this natural relation. And then there's some stuff there's some digital bits added on, and then maybe like this line that's like this bio kind of like spider type stuff that transfers the energy.
Yeah.
And then that's his arm. Then there's this guy who's just standing there who has an arm, and maybe it's a little bit of a different like color like than this part of the arm or something. And that's a dude who just grew a whole new arm. So that's what I see. Like anything in like technology, we've seen the tape cassette to the CD to just the digital file.
Mm-hmm.
You see iterations, back to that word iterations, like the golden mean.
Yeah.
Different iterations of a thing, like different iterations like of a glue gun. A big glue gun with the big sticks. And then this one, the battery goes into it directly. This one, it's freestanding. The battery goes into the charger. They're the same tool, but they're a little more different and have a little bit different application. And as that technology changes, and as our ideas of how we can work with bio stuff versus the stuff we make today, like cars, I think some people are going to just be older, and when they had their arm replaced, we were putting them on like cars and shit. And maybe it was complicated, and maybe it had to be changed out. And then there's going to be a guy who has something that's a little bit more biofuse. We figured out how to fuse the end of the shoulder because it was having a lot of rejection issues. So we knocked that out. And then somebody goes, hey, you know that thing in the cap that creates the rejection issues? If we add this to this, it starts to grow the new arm if we add the program into the guy's brain of what it was. So it's like there's
we could train the brain to accept the new arm and grow around it instead of needing fasteners.
And changing our technology to be not as so hard and automotive, and more of like something that's derivative from a natural source, like using spiders for the thread for wiring in computer systems, or what else are we going to be able to find? Because it's all derivative from nature, right? So we made something from nature, but we've hardened and changed it, and I made a controller. But what if it was back to its original form, right? And it still could turn my TV on and off. What if it still existed as the bio version of it?
That used to be dinosaurs. I'm picturing a tiny, scaly remote that's like alive with eyes, and you have to feed it, or it doesn't.
Make it a T-Rex. Yeah, dude.
You have to. It's like
I was a dinosaur.
Hey Rex, turn on my TV.
It's eating the Terminator in the background.
It's just eating the TV. It's like, hey, no, bad remote, bad. Stop eating the TV.
Well, perfect example. You used to have to go play video games like this. In giant cabinets in a whole building. Now they're all in your phone in your pocket.
You can put every you can put hundreds of arcade games on a tiny SD card that used to take up a whole building. You go to Fun Spot in Laconia, New Hampshire. Oh, sorry, it's in Meredith, right?
No, you're right. I think it's Laconia.
Well, closer to Laconia.
It's near Eden.
Renegade. We're getting there.
Edicott. What is it called? I call it eating cock when I get there. I'm like, we're in eating cock. I don't know. It's crass, but it's cute, right? It's near Eaton Cock.
Welcome to the new segment called Eating Cock.
Down for the deep dive.
Yeah, the deep dive.
The deep dive. Below the cock into the grundle.
Yeah,
Let's
that's true.
go.
So, someone in chat, Renegade Bundy, has brought up the fact that we're actually getting there. We have the stem cell technology. We're 3D printing organs. Um, the integration of like plastic polymers and metal components of a prosthetic into being accepted by a body has not gotten to that extreme yet. But I love that we can now form, like he states, form new bone and muscle as well as components of the body. It's fascinating that we can do that now. So we're starting to understand that we need the natural forms for the body to accept them.
Yeah.
Because foreign objects are not, our body just knows. I think that's part of the golden ratio. I feel like it goes even further into the way our neurons fire, the way we think. Like when we take, say, the idea of going on a retreat. Like I'm gonna go to foreign location, rest my mind, ease my mind for a while. And sometimes when you come back to your world, everything seems chaotic because you just ordered your mind. You got your mind into that ratio, that flow state. And then you try to go back into your world after a vacation and it's jarring because nothing else is following that pattern, just like the foreign object entering the body and the body going, what is this? That's you coming back from a vacation to your normal world being like, I preferred the rest, the freedom, the flow, the order compared to this chaos that is foreign and manufactured. And there's some deep there's a deep philosophy here that we're uncovering of like, we are natural beings and we're
Yeah.
surrounded. What if you were a clump of like an organ surrounded by unnatural things and you were trying to reject all the unnatural things, but you're surrounded by them. You're not the majority. As humans, I feel like we've created that world for us. Here I am sitting in a semicircle of screens and microphones and speakers and all this stuff that my body naturally goes, that's not natural. And then when I go hiking, my body goes, ah, yes. and
And
we,
and I think that's why we get sick. Yeah. I think
I think
that's
that,
why
yeah,
I think some of this stuff makes us ill. It creates biological problems, and I think that's part of the entropy process as well. Like it's a warning, like,
oh,
hey, you
yep,
guys are getting sick a lot. There's this thing, cancer, that's like really beating the shit out of you guys for a lot of reasons, and we know it's applied to this and that and that. But what about all the shit? What, like you said, what about all the screens shooting energy back and forth? What about our diets? What about all this stuff that we're always augmenting and changing? And some
all
of it's probably
factors
good.
in.
Some of it's probably good. Some of it's probably for the best, like standardizing things
Like
or
it,
certain foods. But in the
sad.
process of the long game, people die. Like
Yeah, yeah. The sad truth of
trial
that,
and error.
like the real sad truth of that is that they won't. It doesn't profit. So no one's
Oh
doing the
yeah, well there's
research. No one's doing the research to like actually find out what it exactly is, so we can unravel it and actually fix it. Or like I want to find a way to integrate all these awesome technological advances into our natural state of being so that, say, I could sit in a semicircle of devices and not feel this way. It'd be awesome to integrate and make it work with nature, work with our nature. But they're not doing the research into that because they profit off of us being sick and tired and dumb, for lack of a
oh
better term. Like,
oh
and
no, yeah, of course,
yeah,
yeah.
and I know I wasn't sure if that's where you were going with that, but it definitely sparked the thought in my mind of yeah, they want it that way, and our society is built around us not getting better.
That's why I acknowledge in my daily life and in my Dreamers Arcade ideology, there are two worlds. There's the world of money and there's the world of humanity,
Oh, I
or
love that.
nature, or whatever you want to call it. Uh, if
Can you put that on
I,
a T-shirt?
yeah, sure. A lot of people want to do a lot of things, but they don't do them because it's in direct violation with the other world. Money, you know, to eat, to live, to
Yeah.
have this, to be at this level, to meet expectations, whatever those may be, it becomes a violator in some aspects
Yeah. I
when
mean,
you're like trying to. You and I would just do art all the time. Like we're people that want to do good things for people, but we like doing art too. But we would do art. We found jobs that are helpful to people, that benefit people's you know, getting better, making things easier for other people. That's what we are in the money world. That's what we become. But at the end of the day, I've been painting this wall, and I'm like, man, I wish I could just get gigs to do this nonstop. I would just do this all day, just talk to people outside and paint like murals on walls. But like, I can't find the way to make it work for me in the money world. It does sometimes, but like if money wasn't an issue, and I didn't have to have the this or that or this, you know, paid or met, or like you said, health, medical insurance, all these things, then I would live a different life. I wouldn't worry about tomorrow nearly as much. I wouldn't be nearly as tense. And hey, there you go. That's a state of mind,
yeah.
and bad state of mind also will get you sick. So like even if I'm not participating in the objects, there's a psychological side of it, like of the stress. Like I just want to paint and do cool stuff and make things look awesome and better. But shit, now I got to go grind out and do this other thing because
What if
my car's over registration. You know?
what if you could spend your 6 hours of the day that you needed to do to get food, make sure you repaired your house, make sure you were surviving, and then say all that was done, right? And then you didn't have any other masters to answer to other than yourself. You would have the rest of your life to create. I I always think of medieval architecture and medieval jewelry and medieval and even Greek and Roman architecture. What if you were a mason and your entire life was carving sculptures and carving bricks that are going to go on the Pantheon? Your life was art, and you didn't have a 401k to worry about, or like we're getting further and further away from our golden ratio subject, but this does factor in a bit.
It's just leaving. Sorry, you're
I'll
not
give
taking the car, right?
I'll give you a moment.
Because I'm just wrapping up and I gotta go do my actual work.
Oh, see, there you
See,
go.
so
It's invaded.
I would hang up and goof off more,
It's
but like, you
invaded.
know, yeah, like that's the thing. Like at some point I have to like go and do something that's gonna help some
Yeah.
people out.
But
But like,
what was goofing off though? Like in the medieval time is what I'm bringing up. Like goofing off was doing all the intricate filigree that we think, oh man, that must have taken so much time. It's like they didn't have taxes in the same way we do now. They didn't have TV. They didn't have a bombardment of media. They
I
didn't
gotta
have
get back and watch all these shows. If you guys stop that idea,
no. But what about
it'll be way different.
what about this fascinating idea of like what if you were doing your daily job that you had to do for the king or the lord or whoever you worked for at the time. You did your 6 hours.
I'm working for the Medici, yo.
But and then like we think about, oh, I can't wait to play that game, or I can't wait to watch that show, or when I get home I can't wait to relax. A lot of these people, I think, in those times, if you're an artist, you go, I can't wait to put some more carved lines in this filigree every day, several hours a day, putting like painstaking lines, having the vision of the final product for a year or more of doing one brick of this filigree that was going to be part of a major carved mural, knowing what the whole mural is going to look like, but you're doing a small pixel of it. And that was your whole life, was working on this piece of art. And that, what a beautiful simplicity. No worrying about what the Kardashians are doing. Just I want to put this perfect little indent in this person's arm that I'm doing of this giant sculpture. And there were like 10 other sculptors living exactly the same way. And the beautiful simplicity of it. And we've complicated our world. We've completely broken the golden ratio in the hope of greed and profit and
Yeah, and people use Jackson Pollock's name to sell services. Like,
Did he?
come to my Pollock room and you can splatter paint, rent it out for your kids.
Okay.
Again,
Well, this.
Jackson Pollock was on Long Island, drunk off his fucking ass, chain smoking, standing over a canvas that was probably 12 feet long with house paint, dipping in shit and going like this, making golden ratios, just twisted, dropping his cigarette butts into the canvas and stepping on them and embedding them in the paint.
Wow.
What happened was,
you're telling me we're gonna get to clone Jackson Pollock using his artwork?
Yeah, the cigarette butt was Pollock's mark. That was Jackson Pollock, his footprint of his boot. The accident and the disgustingness was Jackson Pollock's mark. If he was conducting a shaman, a painter, it's not his hand tracing a mark, because he's allowing gravity, the golden ratio, to seize his body in gravity and try to build art from on the floor, but then to take when it's dry and put on the wall to reveal something different in art. And the only way he's really representing himself in nature is to show that I'm just chain smoking drunk and walking all over it. I'm a fucking problem in nature. I'm the problem here, and that's my mark, and I'm trying to figure out something different. But he didn't figure out anything different. He crashed into a tree at like 52, drunk off his ass, and died because he was just broken, and he was just trying to fix himself. So it has a lot to do with like addiction and mental illness and masculinity and art at the time and stuff. But he was experimenting with something else, and that's why Jackson Pollock's significant, because he did that, and a whole bunch of people, oh my God, he just fucking figured out something way different to do. And now people, it's not anything to put a canvas on the floor and drip paint on it. It's like a standard move, or to work with abstract shapes, or to work with programs that create randomization. Like, Pollock was creating it before there were computers creating it. He was figuring out something in the golden ratio, something in his own humanity, something as he stood in the winds of Long Island effect and hit him as he's there. He was just trying to zone into it all, because he obviously wasn't too probably happy in the human life that he had come to see at that point in life. But Pollock was doing stuff, and the artists that are remembered are the people that more so create the ideas of what humanity is going to become, and help us understand that things can be different and challenged. And he pushed the golden ratio in art in a way different way from the craftsmen of ancient Greece.
I almost feel like
he was becoming a shaman. He was conducting a ceremony of his own self-loathing.
I feel like he was a I'm going to use the word puppet, but that has negative connotations. And it doesn't mean that he was stupid or wasn't actually in control of what he was doing. What I mean by puppet is that I feel like the golden ratio was driving him. Mm-hmm. I feel like he almost didn't completely understand how his art came out the way that it came out. He just was following the natural biological flow of his being, because, like you said, half the time he was drunk. And what happens to our bodies and our minds when we're drunk? It's just uninhibited. Like, he was able to completely let go.
Yeah.
And
just smoke and just feel like completely like fucking zoned.
Just in it, yeah.
The best way he could, which was
beautiful.
Which in a way was destroying him.
Just in case if those watching don't know him, I'm gonna bring up some footage or some art. But yes.
And if you want to picture him, picture Ed Harris in a black T-shirt tucked into jeans, because that's who played him in the movie.
Yeah.
He was a bald man repping. He repped the bald. He had the bald, and then he just had his look was not fancy. That was the thing too. He was going to galleries with a T-shirt, a black shirt tucked into jeans and shit. It was like.
We do see the golden ratio in his work, though. It's crazy how much.
Oh yeah, dude.
He had a mural here. That it's everywhere. It's in so much of this.
And I can't state this more than anything. We're not looking at Jackson Pollock art right now. We're looking at code. We're just looking at code on a screen, through a stream, through a phone probably.
Oh, I
You
know. I would love to see
you,
it in person. Yeah, I know
like,
what you're
see the
saying.
scale of that woman, show that scale of that woman, see the
Oh.
scale of the people. You have to, they're huge. You can fall into them. You can lose sense of yourself, and they're also surface. The surface, the way the light catches it, the proportion. Just want you guys to know, when you look at art on a computer, always understand it's just a computer, and it doesn't react in the space with light. It doesn't have the same feel. So, like, it might be like less compelling. I'm just saying. And be like, well, I don't quite see it. It's like,
He
go
even just
see one.
named it. He named it.
They're pretty cool names, huh?
He just named it Mural.
Uh-huh.
It's cool to think that
He's
he's like I picture the was he a boomer or was he Gen Xer?
Oh, he was probably Silent Generation, dude.
A
He
silent
was like,
generation, so it was probably like a fuck it.
yeah, well,
Yeah, like
1943, so he was probably 40 years old. So yeah,
wow.
he was probably born in 1900. So he was an old dude, like, because
Silent, yeah.
he was a mid-century artist. He wasn't He's before Warhol. That's the
Yeah.
best way to explain it. Like, he was so that his art style is abstract expressionism.
Looks like the inside of a star.
So what was also going on in that time was Vasily Kandinsky was an abstract expressionist. Pollock, oh, that one's beautiful. Those colors, dude.
Yeah.
Those are our colors.
Those are our colors, yeah.
So beautiful. They look so fucking good together because I'm using
Whether you're
the
watching our podcast or listening, I hope
chef's
that
kiss.
I'm thinking that the way we can describe this is there's absolute the chaotic nature of Jackson Pollock's work.
Show some pictures of him.
Oh,
Those
this
black
guy?
and whites. The
This
black
guy?
and white pictures. You can see what he's doing, dude.
Yeah.
He's smoking and drinking and, like,
I
look
do
at
love
this guy. That's him, dude. Just fucking in the zone. And they weren't all, like, necessarily, like, they were all a little different. He was doing different ratios and proportions and movements. And like you said earlier, they weren't always beautiful colors, were they? Sometimes they feel ugly and dark and mean. And then sometimes they feel very beautiful and warm.
Yeah, Renegade Bundy is still in the chat here. He's bringing up some other really cool stuff. This actually does pertain a bit to Pollock. Like, there are some artists that do put a lot of thought into it. Do you think he put a lot of thought? Like, do you think he actually thought, oh yeah, was he thinking, oh, that just looks cool? Or do you think he was actually planning stuff out, like putting more thought into it?
Oh yeah, it's all so art of the 20th century. Why I don't want to, I'm not going to, I'm going to say this and make this, because, like, people get real.
Oh, tear me apart.
No, they get mad at artists and, like, you think you're so fucking smart and your shit's pretentious, and you know why you get that a lot is because art in the 20th century became conceptual. So wrap your head around that. What does that mean? People used to paint because they didn't have cameras. So you want to picture yourself, you hire a guy to paint. You want the landscape or whatever from your trip, you gotta have a guy to paint it. That's how it works.
Yeah.
But in Germany, there was the wars going on, World War I, and expressionism came out of a time of pain, and people were trying to do more psychological stuff. Sigmund Freud was saying all this stuff with psychology. Psychology started to get into art, so it became more about the concept of what does art have to be after we've invented cameras that can just take pictures of stuff. And now it has become a viable art source within itself. So it gets into science, it gets into psychology, and it gets into these things that they don't really pertain always to the craft of, like, I can render something that's photorealistic. No, I don't have to render photorealistic. Now I want to talk about the humanity and the art experience of myself living in the 21st century. And what does that mean for artists? And people like Pollock,
Oops.
people like Kandinsky created a
I clicked the
psychological
wrong
art,
button.
a psychological art that would carry forth and become the standard to where you're starting to see a urinal in a fucking gallery, and that's art. What?
Yeah.
And you're starting to see like ready-mades and things that don't make sense, and people are like, well,
Yeah.
that's not art. That's the conversation.
Yeah, I
Art
don't.
becomes a conversation of like, what is art? What isn't art? Who's it for? Who controls it? Does
Very
the gallery
conceptual.
make a mural on the street? So
Mhm.
it's wildly like conceptual now. So as an artist, this is the space I live in 24/7. So you come at me with a certain thing, and it's like I'm gonna deadlock with most human beings almost instantly. Like, no, you just think that's a guy splattering paint. Because people come up, they go, my kid could do that. I'm not saying you're dumb. I'm not fucking saying you're dumb. I'm just saying that's wrong is wrong. That's not accurate. And there's a little more into it. And Jackson Pollock isn't just like, I'm my best self. I'm just gonna splatter it and put it on the wall. It's a little bit more than that. He was a miserable, tormented person that changed the face of art and sacrificed himself, and will only be recognized, more so in his death until they cancel him for some bullshit. But now we cancel people while they're alive. Cheers! Welcome to Rise and Mind.
Let's put a
Fresh
pin
air,
in
and
that. Let's put a pin in that one. We could spend a whole episode on Jackson.
I know. I get. We're going to Jackson.
Yeah, we're going to Jackson.
There you go. I had my art catharsis moment where it's like, you stop with the Pollock shit.
Hey,
man.
If we put your kid could do that, yeah, let's put your kid through depression and smoking and drinking and see how if he becomes Jackson Pollock. That's right. Yeah.
Fuck yeah. I'm gonna go have a kid. I'm gonna go impregnate my wife right now and make. We're going back to Long Island, honey. We're going back to Long Island.
Oh my goodness.
Long Island. Billy Joel.
Billy Joel. So we're in the breath of fresh air now. We have been for a while. We're gonna be wrapping up here in a couple minutes.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. I'm not commanding you, CP.
Yes, sir. No, yeah.
What's the breath of fresh air and the idea of an ordered universe of the golden ratio of the order that we see that appears to be chaos, especially like we've been talking a lot about Jackson Pollock, and it's
no, we haven't. Jackson Pollock is my theme that I've intertwined throughout the.
Well, he fits though. He fits with what we're talking about, how it looks like chaos, but there's so many of his pieces where you can tell that there's an intention, and maybe I can't even put words to it while I'm staring at the piece.
I suck at math. I'm fucking terrible at math. I had to do the art shit to.
Here's the thing: the golden ratio is where art and math meet.
I know that's.
It's where art and math meet.
They don't meet in my head, so
I have to
get drunk and smoke like Pollock.
I have
to figure that shit out.
I have an OG CP sketch painting that is a conglomeration of my work. It's in my car.
Oh, you mean the
one you
drawing?
did? Yeah, the one you did of all my work. The way that
I gave him this like a year ago, I think, and he's like, "It's in my car."
No, it's protected. It's protected in my car. It's better there than in here, because if it comes in here, it's gonna go in a box and I'll never see it. But in my car, I see it at every convention.
I think he plastered it on his windshield actually and drives into it every day.
So the golden ratio is something you've used. You used it in every part of the picture where you mold one of the images into another. You use the golden ratio to make sure that they mold concisely. I see the swirls. I see the moldings, the perfect like little parts where they it makes sense. It makes sense because if you did just a stark line in between each one, it would look like a stained glass piece.
Can I get a big camera for a minute?
You want a big camera? You have a yeah. Hold on,
I
I
want to
got
I
it.
want to show I want to respond to Renegade in the fresh air. This is what I'd like to do because I think that's cool. The unfinished art and is art in itself. I would say more so. Seeing the process and seeing that world of where chaos meets order and doesn't conclude, that always stays in flux, is amazing. And I'm gonna go grab two paintings, and they're both finished, but one seems a little less finished than the other one. What the?
Sorry, I was just being silly.
Look at that, he's zooming in on my pizza cats over there. All right. So I'm not going to be able to hear you, Space Viking. So I'm
Okay.
just going to say my two pieces. I'm going to go grab them, swoop in, and do my two pieces.
Okay.
Okay, so this first painting.
Great. This is a great breath of fresh air.
We were
I love
talking
it.
earlier about still life.
Yeah.
So this was a
damn.
painting that I worked on of a Donkey Kong board. We can go way back. It's pretty big.
You evenly spaced every barrel. Oh, you can't hear me. That's
And
right.
this was built.
he warned me about that.
This was built based with actual objects and toys. And so, like you were saying earlier, Viking, about stacking cups and glasses and getting accurate light, this was something where I did build a three-dimensional model, and then I lit it from the bottom and got accurate lighting. And then it seems like it kind of exists in a weird way because it went from 2D to 3D back to 2D, and it's seen in a way it's never been seen. Now, see, that looks finished. It looks like a traditional kind of painting. There is some looseness to it in parts. But now what I work on currently, I'm going to knock something open. I'm just going to deal with it. So this is the Dreamers Arcade. It's a little bit big. It's a little bit bigger. Sorry if you can't hear me well. But see, some of it looks like it should be colored in and finished.
That's very Jackson Pollock-ish.
And there's parts that are loose and atmospheric. But intentionally, everything is done with a specific idea and intention. And that is a finished piece. I look at it way more. And I'm inspired by that piece way more than that old Donkey Kong painting, which that Donkey Kong painting is one of my popular pieces. I get a lot of notoriety, and people are like, wow, that's beautiful. No, I've almost sold it a few times. I ask a lot for it, and
oh no, I mean, I was wondering, like, if you were, I was gonna ask if you were selling it. Like, is it something you want to keep? Because it seems like you want to keep it.
Those are. I mean, the paintings over here in my hallway they're the ones I put them there for a reason. They're the ones that I like them to look at because they're constantly inspiring new ideas, and I think an artist should always have a reference of their best work around them, and especially in their studio and in the areas where they make. You want to be referencing where you left off. But I've presented both stuff like that. Now, to anyone out in the world, that Donkey Kong fire, and they're like, I want that. That's cool. But people like look at the Dreamers Arcade, and they don't always know what to say, or they'll be like, that's wild, or oh, nuts. They don't know as much to say, but when they see Donkey Kong, they go, hey, Donkey Kong. It's a frame of reference. It's existed for like 50 years, Hey, here's Donkey Kong. I get it. Oh, there's a
Donkey Kong.
It starts to fit into a cultural experience that connects people. Now, I think
the cultural experience is something I'm finally getting into.
Yeah, and there's ways to kind of embed to work with that, but then at the same time, as an artist, I want to do what Pollock is doing and be like, hey, let's get nuts, you know, and let's get loose and let's try to do a dance and be more expressive instead of just rendering for real, being a camera. I don't want to be a camera anymore. I want to get into my soul or my experience, and I want to also friends and be like, what do they experience and what are they going through, and try to tie it all and have deep conversations, with people like the Viking here to stimulate those ideas even further. So when I'm working, they carry
That's what this
on
is
and
all
on.
about. I want to stimulate ideas. That's what Rise and Mind exists for. Used to be coffee and contemplation, but now that we want to bring it into other spheres, we can't use a name that's like so well known.
Yeah, we're
Um,
so that being said, I'll say that with my art and with the show.
I want to contemplate.
Yeah, to
I want to
tie it all
make you
together.
think.
My work is never done. My work will never be done.
Mm-hmm.
Because my work will physically, corporally be done when I'm dead. When CP doesn't exist, he can't alter, touch, or change it. As an artist,
What?
my work is done. But my work isn't done because my ideas and that same work can be altered. You can paint on my canvas. You can add things to my mural. You can continue to work within the ideology of the Dreamers Arcade, as I put out. Like, my work will never be done because it's always an inspiration, at least I hope, for other people who want to make and create. And sometimes you have to just get out there and do some stuff, and maybe some of your work looks half finished and it's not great.
I'm just
But
gotta.
but I tell you what, man, that Donkey Kong versus that Dream
Yeah.
things to me more and more. And for my art minded friends who did want to talk concept, they didn't even know. They'd be like, are these working sketches? Are they finished? Are you considering that? And they were kind of confused by it too. And it's like,
interesting.
what if things aren't finished? What if there are things that are always being built? And what if there are things that are always moving around, like the golden ratio?
That's where
What if
the
it never is done?
as a
And
digital
it always
artist,
builds. Yeah.
as a digital artist, I can profoundly say that nothing is ever done. Like with digital art,
Yeah.
if you don't need to put a clear coat over something and corner yourself from it in the digital world. Like I have paintings from 10 years ago that I painted right over them and redid the entire feeling of the painting and then resold it as a new edition of the work.
Oh, hell yeah.
And it's like, heck. Alrighty, we're gonna wrap this up. We're doing a new thing today too. We're doing an outro.
Okay.
Ready? Here's the outro, guys. As we conclude, Rise in Mind. Remember that the golden ratio offers us a window into the remarkable interplay between precision and beauty that defines our world. It is a reminder that beneath the surface of our everyday experiences lies a profound harmony, waiting to be discovered by those willing to explore the nexus of mathematics and creativity. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. I hope that you feel somewhat enlightened. I hope that everybody got something from this. I really appreciate everyone hanging out for this episode. Please
you guys are awesome.
If you guys are enjoying what we're doing here, please keep an eye on the Discord. There's going to be some restructuring. We're going to probably do a separate channel for Rise in Mind on Twitch, a separate channel on YouTube, and its own Instagram.
Own OnlyFans.
I don't know if we're going to do another Discord.
Let's broadcast it on OF, dude.
OnlyFans to be announced.
Dude, free
So,
sub.
guys, please,
Dude,
please.
We can do a lot more on that show.
Stay curious. Keep your mind open, everybody. Thank you so much for being here, and never skip brain day. Never skip brain day. I appreciate you guys working out with us.
Woo!